Yo, what up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. This is Fandom Frequency. I'm your host, Will. We dive into all sorts of topics in pop culture, and there was no way that I was going to be more than a couple weeks late on covering this show. And I've been keeping up with each episode every single week, but got caught up with a bunch of other things. But we're finally diving into The Last of Us Season 2, the first 3 episodes. Spoiler review, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen it, go watch it, come back, and then we're going to talk about all the crazy details here. And just a little caveat up top, I have not finished the second game of The Last of Us, but I have played the entire first game, so I do know a lot of the story elements going into this one, but not the entire story, so don't spoil the ending of the game, Ellie's fate, any of that stuff down below, please, for anyone else too that hasn't played the game, but is simply watching the show. But with no further ado, let's get into this thing. And let me tell you what, season 2 picks up and doesn't miss a single beat. This is incredible television so far, man. And I heard a lot of complaints from people about the premiere episode saying it was a bit too slow. They wanted a little more action. Da 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 da. But I think they have paced this out beautifully and had to set the stage and get you introduced to the new characters and all the new stuff going on in Jackson, Wyoming, where Ellie and Joel have settled down with his brother, Tommy, who we met in the previous season, of course, played by the great Gabriel Luna and his wife. But now we're going to get introduced to the new side characters that were introduced in the second game. That being Isabella Merced's Dina. I don't know the actor of the actor's name that's playing Jesse, but he's also a pivotal side character in this second season. A couple of fellow citizens in Jackson, Wyoming. So they had to kind of set the stage and give you the updates on where Joel and Ellie are and their relationship as kind of pseudo daughter and father and whatnot, and where things are at with that. Bit of a strained relationship and everything, as you guys saw. But they had to set the stage and get you ready because episode 2 comes along last week and rips all of our hearts out. And I'm just going to rip the band aid out. Joel dead. R.I.P. He gone, man. And the character of Abby, played by Caitlin Dever, which has been a bit freaking controversial for whatever dumb reason because she isn't as big as Rhea Ripley or goddamn Ronda Rousey out here. But she doesn't need to be because it's all about the acting and the presence of the performance, in my personal opinion. I know at least one gamer is going to comment below that I'm tripping. She needs to be fucking yoked and strong and buff and out of her, thing. Da 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 da. They can't take it seriously. So I'm already getting ahead of it. Don't care. I like the actress of Caitlin Dever, and I think she did a phenomenal job at introducing the character up top in the first episode and really showing the vengeance and really showing the dark side of her character, especially in this second episode where you get a much deeper sense of how driven by anger and rage she really is to carry out this revenge on Joel. And when she gets to the point to where she has the opportunity after getting saved by Joel, by the way, after getting chased by that crazy ass horde, which we're also going to get into as we recap this thing, and as Joel saves her ass when he's out with Dina doing a patrol, they end up being the only reason why she got away from those crazy ass zombies in one of the most tense sequences of the entire series so far, when they're all up on the chain gate and she's trying to crawl through to get away from there, which is ripped right out of the game, by the way. I've played that actual part of it. Very intense and cool part of the game, and they really realize it here in an even more phenomenal way. And the way that the horde is kind of hiding under the snow and everything when she first comes in contact with them, and they're kind of burrowing below to stay warm and everything, sort of like mushrooms do and things like that, due to the fact that the infection that caused the zombies is a fungi to begin with. I love the way that they're kind of blending in some real world science and details into this to really make the infected much more interesting and developed. We also saw in the first episode how they're super smart. So a lot of things are really getting evolved with the infected and the way that everything comes to a crescendo here in the second episode when Abby finally gets her hands on Joel and enacts her revenge in the cruelest way possible outside of just skinning or doing something even crazier than that. She goes all in, beats the hell out of him with a golf club till he's damn near unrecognizable. And Joel's like, hey, enough of the monologue and get it going. Gets his ass beat and handed to him. And as we are all aware, it is because of the fact that he killed Abby's dad in the finale of the first season when he was saving Ellie and getting her out of there from the Fireflies. Took out a bunch of them, RIP'd them all, ran through there with a fucking killing spree, literally. And then now she's enacting her revenge 5 years later. And man, it was so freaking hard to watch Joel go down like that. And just Caitlin Dever's performance in that thing, man, you felt what she felt in that moment, man, and just the brutality and the sheer like craziness and the psychotic nature you gotta be at in order to enact revenge in such a cruel and sadistic and slow way of just torturing the man to death pretty much, and then ending it off with stabbing him with the golf club in the freaking back of the head or the neck. Damn. She fucking fatality this fool, man. And it just doesn't, and it doesn't end there, man. Ellie's over there. They finally make it. Her and Jesse, because they were over there at the 7-Eleven, aka little weed shop over there, little hideout. Eugene was staying in, who was Catherine O'Hara's ex-husband that got killed by Joel. A lot of things that are going to come back around later, but I don't want to get too deep into that at the moment. Kind of keep things rolling here. And Ellie gets there. She has to watch all of this go down at this little cabin that the wolf people have kind of cultivated there and used there to kind of infiltrate Jackson. And it's brutal just having to see freaking Ellie crawl over to his dead body and laying on top of him and just screaming and crying and just vowing her revenge against these fools. And she's so out of it, she doesn't know who anyone's name is. She doesn't get any useful information. But as we find out in this week's episode, at episode 3, Dina got all the information that they're going to need in order to go out and get these fools in the 4th episode and on. But yeah, man, Joel's death at the end of near the end of episode 2, absolutely devastating. And we ain't gonna skip over the freaking siege at fucking Jackson's little gate there, man. Like the whole horde that was chasing Abby gets to Jackson and bust up in there, and a lot of people end up losing their lives. But there is a all-out battle, man, that goes down. And this isn't anything that was actually in the game. This is something they just used for the actual TV series and they wrote in there. And I think it's fucking awesome. It damn near beats any of the big moments in the game, in my personal opinion. And a lot of people complained last season that there wasn't enough infected in this thing. You definitely can't have that complaint after this episode and the one that's going to come up in episode 4. But we'll get to that at the end of this recap here when we get more into episode 3 itself. But that siege of Jackson in episode 2, man, so badass, total Game of Thrones vibes, and having to see Tommy step up to the bloater with the damn flamethrower or whatever the fuck, stripped straight out of the game, man. And just the way that sequence played out and the way that it felt, even the way that the bloater went down, it was just straight ripped out of the game, like shot for shot, but in a different scenario and context. And the way that it was done was just flawless, man. Chef's kiss. Absolutely amazing. I love the way they do action in this show. It's always so good, and it always has the perfect amount of build-up, intrigue, and character building to where when shit hits, it hits the fan, and you don't forget a single second of it. And man, it's powerful stuff, man. And that ends things in such a terrible and just downer note, Empire Strikes Back style at the end of this episode here. And now picking up with this week's episode of episode 3, we pick up literally with Tommy coming into the room where all the dead, where all the deceased people are sitting at, and he actually has to go identify the body of Joel that Ellie and them had to drag into town. Ellie's down for the count. She has to recover in the hospital. She can barely even breathe, and when she wakes up, she's literally flipping out. I'm still reliving the moment of the terror and the trauma of watching Joel's death. And the regret that she feels when she wakes up 3 months later when her last interaction with him was at the New Year's dance where Ellie and Dina had a little too much fun, right, with the substances and whatnot, and ended up, macking on each other a little bit there, making Jesse jealous and making this one guy all pissed off. Joel pushes him down and then ends things in an awkward note with her, with Ellie and Joel. She passes by him when he's sitting on the porch when she goes home that night on New Year's, the night before he gets killed in episode 2, and they never resolve the issue and they never really talk afterwards, and that's eating up a Joel anyway as a parent of a teenager, right, of a young adult, and they never get to bury the hatchet, and she never gets to say I'm sorry. And that's the one thing where I always say, and they always say in real life, always make sure you make things right with your loved ones and your friends and all that stuff, because you never know when either of y'all are gonna go. And Father Time came and took Joel. So she's feeling a lot of regret, a lot of grief, understandably so, at the beginning of episode 3 after she recovers 3 months later, leaves the hospital, has a quick little psych session with Deborah, Catherine O'Hara's character. I believe her name's Deborah. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, man, and just the whole melancholy feel of this episode is so strong, and just a feeling of really having to sit down and process the loss of Joel to us, the audience, and losing the character and losing that amazing actor of Pedro Pascal playing the character. And they've also said up top here, so just so anyone that's getting kind of concerned that they're not going to, there's going to be flashbacks. We are going to see Joel again in this season. I don't know if we're going to see him in season 3 or if they end up doing a potential season 4, but we will see more of Joel before this season is done and get to reflect on what he meant to Ellie and some of their memories of the kind of 5-year time gap that we had in between seasons. So that's going to be really cool to see. They might even have a bottle episode with him and Eugene and the whole thing that went down there, because he was a former Firefly. So I'm wondering if he took him out at the thing or if he took him out in Jackson because of a whole completely different thing. I don't know. I'm very curious to see where that's going to go. But as things progress here, they're going to actually have a council meeting to talk about getting 16 people together, their best of the best, sir. Comment down below if you know the reference, to go out to Seattle, Washington, to take out this wolf militia and get revenge and justice, as Ellie puts it, for Joel's death and for them doing what they did. But here's the thing. A lot of people lost loved ones 3 months earlier during the siege of Jackson, and also a lot of people don't want to do it. In fact, 8-3 count on the council. They don't even want to use their resources or anything to go and get Joel. Dina, as I mentioned earlier, was the one that actually got this information. She overheard like the names of like Manny and Owen and Abby, obviously being the one that took him out, what their militia is called, what the acronym stands for, where they're stationed, and all that stuff, because she had heard a story from someone a couple years prior. And she has the whole route mapped out and everything like that. And she is gung-ho and willing to go out there with Ellie to do this and to achieve this mission and achieve this goal. And they do just that. They set out on their own onto Seattle, Washington, unbeknownst to anyone. But I think Tommy and Jesse, similar to in the game, are going to go after them and end up getting into the conflict with Wolf himself, because I believe Tommy's very conflicted on the idea of going and exacting revenge for his brother's death. But I do believe he is down to do it, but I feel like he's conflicted with kind of trying to get rid of the dark past that he has and not going down the same path and having to kind of fight fire with fire. But at the same time, I think he feels that pull to the dark side of himself in the way that he perceives it in wanting to do this. Jesse definitely is much more straight-laced by the book. I don't necessarily think has much anger as vengeful spirit, but he looked up to Joel and was very close to him as well. So I think they're definitely going to go out after Ellie and Dina to go try to get them to come back and maybe talk them out of it, because as we see at the very end of this episode, y'all, Wolf is packing. They got tanks. They got all the weapons. There's this other religious group from the game. I can't remember their name, but they don't even have guns or anything like that. So there's this whole other third party that's there. And you got Wolf Militia, who's fucking rolling deep, man. They're like fucking, they're like DMX in the street. We rolling deep and shit like that, man. They ain't playing around. And I'm not sure how Ellie and Dina are really going to be able to even try to pull this off. And like I said, I haven't finished the game. I'm about 50 to 60% of the way through, so I'm just over halfway through the game. So I don't know exactly where things are going to go, but I do know some elements of the story that haven't necessarily played out yet, if they're going to. But I got to say, man, the way they tee this up for that preview at the end of the episode after they visit Joel's grave and actually reach Seattle, I can't wait to see what is going to go down, because next episode seems like it's going to be pretty action-packed overall. They run into a horde of zombies in seemingly in some train station or like subway kind of place going on in Seattle. There's a bunch of Wolf Militia fools running around. And it's going to be very interesting to see what Tommy and Jesse's reaction are to Ellie and Dina just packing up and leaving. And it's going to be interesting to see who they come in contact with, if they come in contact with any of the Wolf agents or militia group, whatever, and those religious zealots. So it's going to be really cool to see where everything is going to go. But like I said, we're going to be covering the rest of this season, but I'm actually going to be doing it week to week from now on. This should be dropping either Sunday night or Monday afternoon for these recaps for the entire second season of Last of Us 2. We're also going to be getting into Andor Season 2. That's over there on the Disney the Disney Star Wars side of things. So look out for those reviews on Wednesday, no later than Thursday as well. And I got some really fun movie reactions and some cool like retro like niche content and stuff like that coming out, and working on a second side project as well that does concern the channel. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled for all the dopeness we have going on. And if you don't want to miss it, click those buttons below the video, ring that bell, Michelle my bell, and make sure you get on that so you don't miss any of the Fandom Frequency dopeness in your feed on a weekly basis, y'all. But until next time, Make sure you stay safe. Look out for your loved ones. Much love. Stay tuned. Don't sleep. And we'll catch you on the next video. Peace.